So you're pretty multi-chain in what you collect?
The chain that it's on like attributes or subtracts value from a piece.
Welcome to the Alpha Podcast, made possible by West Coast Customs and NVRLand Studios, hosted by me, Jussup. Before we begin, I want to remind everybody that what you're about to hear is not financial advice, nor do we endorse any of the guests or projects on the show. This is simply meant for educational purposes, and oftentimes I'm learning about these projects in real time as we're recording them. While this is brought to you by West Coast Customs and NVRLand Studios, the opinions expressed are of my own or the guests, and not of the companies. So without further ado, let's tap into the episode.
My name's Tamara. I think a lot of people in the Polka ecosystem know me both from D1 Ventures, of which I'm a founding partner. We invest a lot in the ecosystem, and also as being a co-founder of Polka Haüs.
How did you get into this space, into Web3?
I've been involved in crypto for a really long time, almost 9 years since I bought my first Bitcoin. I was really fascinated by the new modalities of freedom and also potentially art and distribution of culture that this technology could enable.
What is your background in general?
I went to college for art and philosophy, actually art theory. Eventually came back around to study computer science, which I dropped out of when I discovered crypto because I just was I'm basically I'm strapped on a jet propeller and I have to kind of go, so yeah.
What was the moment or what was the thing that made you discover crypto?
A little bit over 10 years ago, I survived a major medical incident in my life that I had to during a pivotal time in my life, and also the world really changing, I grew up in a world where the internet wasn't fully saturated. It was really only weird people on the internet, and then this major paradigm shift happened in the world in this time of the late 2000s, early 2010s, and I'd been an artist before, and I realized, I wanted to use technology essentially to enable art that I created and use the network effects of these networks, which I felt was a missing component of actually exhibiting and experiencing art in the world today. That's kind of what got me into it. But back about 10, 11 years ago, I worked for a VC in Silicon Valley, and so traditional venture capitalist, and I was just wow, there's got to be a better way for projects to raise from aligned stakeholders, users of this technology, than this same group of VCs getting in every single deal. So I think for me when it really clicked was essentially unfortunately ICOs on Ethereum, and then the very first NFTs, and I was kind of okay, this is actually really, really viable and it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting you being an artist and being very involved in the heady DeFi financial stuff. Do you do any dabbling in NFTs and the art side?
I have an NFT collection. We actually had an exhibit in New York during NFT NYC. And I curate the D1 collection as well. And I love to collect. I actually I have a pretty sweet collection. But I don't really like the normal stuff. I don't have any Bored Apes or anything. I'm really into rare pepes. I'm fully Milady pilled or Miladies. They like to correct me, but just because Milady, Vermilia, I used to read their blog about urban and art blocks, so I was kind of always aware of Milady because of that. And I really like high art NFTs, stuff like Tom Sachs, Damien Hirst, etc. I really look for, I collect a lot of artists really deeply who aren't big, because I really look for artists that are actually leveraging the technology in really interesting ways, or at least use it as a subject matter, because there's just a lot of really amazing gamified and experiential things that you can bake into the launch of an NFT, that are, that's something I really liked about Tom Sachs Rockets. There are multiple layers to this game, essentially, of how you're going to assemble your rocket to if you're going to launch it and actually get a physical artwork. I'm also really into the Kusama NFTs, Canaria, the RMRK NFTs. Actually, have like the first NFTs on Kusama.
So you're pretty multi-chain in what you collect?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm more like Ethereum and Kusama.
Yeah.
Because I'm like actually like a bit of a snob, and I believe that like actually the chain that it's on, like in terms of art, like basically, I believe every single component of an art piece, like either like attributes or subtracts value from a piece, and so it's like chains like Solana. I'm always like, I'm not really looking for like the pieces that are just going to be like a quick pump and dump. Like I'm looking for pieces that are going to hold value in years time, and so I'm just like, I don't really understand. And the chain that an NFT is on like comes with its own unique cultural capital, and I believe like, you know, so that's why I really stick to like ETH, or like the Samba ecosystem, which I believe has like as much cultural capital as Ethereum, and I believe that's something that like the rest of the chains are like lacking.
I've never actually heard somebody describe it as like having kind of impact into a purpose for purchasing it. When you're buying or looking at an NFT project, is there something specific? Like, do you do it off of value or the potential of financial investment? Do you do it because you like the art?
I just buy what I like and what I think's good.
Cool.
Yeah, but you know, really like the education I had was to like become an art critic and be like a person that ascribes value to artwork.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I do like think that, you know, I probably have more training like in terms of being able to make like really almost immediate decisions that I know what's good and what's not. But so I just kind of like keep my eyes and ears open, and then with something that really interests me, like for example, like Milady. I basically, you know, I'll get involved in the beginning, maybe like buy a couple, see how I feel, and then like kind of like create my own unique thesis, like essentially before I go in like pretty hard. Okay, like I believe in this, like I believe in this is potential to like either break forward into more of the mainstream, to hold value in a certain amount of time, that this is actually like real art. Like I actually also like co-founded this like joke DAO. Now I think we're banned on Twitter, called Dick DAO, which is like with my friend Gareth. And like we basically, you know, there were like 7 non-fungible friends collection, like Pepe dicks, and we bought 5 of them and decided to fractionalize them like within this DAO. I think we were like only the second DAO to fractionalize an NFT, and I think that was like something that it's like has this really abstract value, but we both were like looked at this and we're like, this is art, like, and we need to like own this like as art.
What are some things in the Web3 space in general that you're looking forward to?
Like deeper decentralization of the stack. Like I think it's pretty crazy that we're still using like middleman, like, you know, Infura, or like you basically have to like run your own node. So like light clients are really interesting to me, and the more like the technical side, and the new upcoming like Wasm parachains, because I think that also kind of like takes care of that problem. I think DAOs are really exciting. That like we definitely need more tooling, because they're definitely, it's like becomes like a full-time job, like using a DAO, like essentially, and so being a, you know, a DAO member.
The space in general, you don't see a lot of women in it. What do you think we could do to change that?
No bullshit, but it's a really rough space to be a woman. Like I had to deal with like a lot of shit, and I'm super tough. I don't think it's for everyone. I mean, I hope it's easier now, you know, and that I was really early when there were a lot less women than there are today. I guess, okay, I had to really like find myself in this space and like try a lot of different things and have a lot of failures, because there wasn't a really easy inroad for me, because I wasn't like, you know, basically, well, you know, when I started, I wasn't like a Solidity dev, or there was no easy direct way to contribute to a project. And so, you know, I contributed with like a lot of, you know, I mean, I guess I have a lot of like unusual skills, like let's say, right? It's difficult because it's a deeper problem in our society, that like essentially, you know, women don't do like STEM education like really well, and it's like, you know, there's a lot of questions, or is it, you know, I'm sure you follow the like shape rotator and word cell debate like on Twitter, right? I'm definitely a word cell, but you're like, okay, is it because like women fundamentally like aren't as good at this type of mental shape rotation and engineering stuff, or is it because our culture and educational system doesn't try to like contextualize these things like for women, like, you know, and it just kind of like cuts them out of it, and I don't really know the answer to that, but I think that because of that, and like coming from the premise that there's not a lot of women in STEM, right? Where it's like, okay, all of a sudden you're not just going to onboard all these female devs. Like, that's kind of unrealistic, but there's a lot of things that, you in this space that you don't have to be like a dev to do and that are really needed. And I think kind of like showing those opportunities more, I think is really important, which at the end of the day, this space like historically has a troubled relationship with, because like, especially in the early days, there was like a really common pattern that would happen with, you'd have like devs, they were generally like pretty autistic, and then you'd get like a business guy who's like, the scammer who'd come and like kind of like, end up with more money than the devs and like all this stuff, because they at the end of the day didn't care about money that much. And then like, you'd see this like situation happen like dozens of times, right? So I think that a lot of people are really leery about people in the space who aren't actually building the technology, and I think kind of having more of that like the other people are just extractive, right? And so the thing about these networks is that like a lot of people are very blown away by the exponential wealth creation, and that blinds them in a certain way where they're just like, oh my god, it's just money, it's just appearing, right? When in all reality, like these networks are like closed loop systems that work cybernetically, and so everything every single person does affects every single other person in that network that's holding the token, that's working on the technology, like etc. So it's like there is no like extra like $100 million you can like scoop off the top. That means someone else in this network like isn't getting it, And so I think that it's trying to align those relationships better and figuring out like the way like more people can actually contribute like without being extractive into this entire thing. Like a first step to like getting like more women in the space and more people who are like less technical, and educating them about the technology as well, because I think that like if you don't understand the technology at all, like that's also not good. Like you have to at least like understand like just on a basic level like how this stuff works.
Thank you so much for
You're welcome.
Anywhere socials or anything that
I guess
where people
can
can find you?
Find me on Twitter. It's like _soft machine, but the O is with a 0.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you so much for your
Oh my
time.
God, you're welcome. All right.